Part 1. Silk Road's Desert Caravans. Hey guys. Tonight we dive into the dusty, blistering world of the Silk Road. You're trudging through the Taklamakan Desert. Sand crunching under tattered boots. A heavy pack digging into your shoulders. And the jingle of camel bells ringing in your ears. The sun scorches your skin. And the air's so dry, your throat feels like it's swallowing embers. This isn't a leisurely stroll. It's a grueling trade journey spanning thousands of miles, where silk, spices, and ideas change hands over weary handshakes. You'd probably not survive a week in this heat with no Wi-Fi. So, before you get cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from, what time it is there, and the weirdest item you'd trade on this route. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe switch on a fan for that soft hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch all our thrilling adventures. You wake as the sun peeks over the horizon, its pale gold light slicing through the desert's edge. Your head throbs from using a sack of barley as a pillow, and your mouth's as dry as the sand around you. Somewhere nearby, a camel groans, and a merchant's raspy voice haggles over a horse's price. You're part of a caravan on the Silk Road, the ancient trade network linking east to west, from Han Dynasty Chang'an to distant Rome. Around the 2nd century BCE, this isn't a single clear path, but a web of trails crisscrossing deserts, mountains, and steppes, where goods, religions, and even plagues swap hands like old friends at a tavern. You drag yourself up, legs aching from yesterday's trek. Your caravan's a motley crew of 20, from long-bearded Chinese traders in fluttering silk robes to hawk-nosed Sogdian warriors, hands never far from their daggers. Camels are the caravan's soul, each lugging hundreds of pounds of silk, yarder, or spices. Swaying with that classic bored expression, you check your goods. A few rolls of fine silk, worth their weight in gold in Rome. But to get there, you'll face sand, bandits, and dust storms that could bury the whole caravan alive. Breakfast is flatbread hard as rock, chewed with a bit of dried yogurt, bought from a shepherd last week. Water's stored in a leather pouch, warm and earthy. But you don't complain. Water's gold here, and you've learned to sip it like it's fine wine. An older merchant, face weathered, like desert stone, tells a tale of nearly dying in a sandstorm near Dunhuang. You nod, but inwardly think, great. Just what I needed to feel less terrified. The caravan moves out, camel bells clanging in a steady rhythm, like a lullaby for the harsh wilderness. The desert stretches endlessly, its golden sand shimmering under the sun, beautiful in a way that makes you both marvel and want to bolt. The heat climbs fast, your tunic soaked with sweat, sticking like a curse. You walk beside a Bactrian guide, a man of few words but eyes sharp as blades. He points to the horizon, where a faint mountain range shimmers. Jade Gate, he mutters. It's a milestone, but also a bandit hotspot. You tighten your grip on the small knife hidden in your belt, hoping you won't need it. The Silk Road isn't just about trade. It's a cultural bridge, where Buddhism spread from India to China, where Greek philosophers brushed shoulders with Taoist sages. You overhear a merchant talk of stone temples in Dunhuang, where monks carve scriptures into cliffs. Mainstream historical fact, the Mogao caves in Dunhuang, started in the 4th century CE, are a treasure trove of Buddhist art, housing thousands of murals and manuscripts, proof of the Silk Road's cultural exchange. Odd detail. Some traders used dried camel dung as fuel. Since wood was scarce, creating campfires with a smell you'd rather forget. Historians still debate whether the Silk Road was the main conduit for the plague that killed millions in Europe during the 6th century. By noon, the caravan halts under a massive rock, the only shade for miles. You slump on the sand, nibbling more bread, listening to a Sogdian warrior brag about fighting off 3 bandits with a stick. They ran like rabbits. He grins, but you suspect he's spiced up the tale. Another man, braids swinging, talks of cities like Samarkand, where gold flows like rivers. You wonder if you'll ever see such places, or just keep trudging through this heat. Sand gets everywhere. Your clothes, hair, even your thoughts. The guide's advice echoes. Don't look too far. Just the next step. Easier said than done, when each step feels like walking on a skillet. A camel bellows, startling you, and the caravan laughs. It hates the desert too. A merchant chuckles. You grin, thinking, well, at least I'm not alone in my misery. As sunset paints the desert crimson, it's stunning but bone-chilling. The caravan sets camp, pitching rough canvas tents, lighting fires with precious wood. You huddle by the flames, their warmth soothing your aching body. A storyteller, Starch, his voice low, like desert wind, spinning a yarn about a sand dragon guarding honest travelers. You're skeptical, but the rapt faces around you hush your doubts. The skies ablaze with stars, so bright you feel tiny, a speck in the cosmos. Dinner's barley porridge with dried onions, ladled into wooden bowls. You eat slowly, savoring each bite. Though it's nothing special, a Chinese merchant unveils a silk roll, its sheen dancing in the firelight like liquid jade. This, he says, will buy a house in Rome. You touch the fabric, smooth as water, dreaming of far-off cities you've never seen. Before sleep, you check your goods, tying ropes tight against night thieves. The wind howls across the desert, whispering of travelers long gone. You lie on the hard ground, camel bells still ringing in your head, lulling you to sleep. But sleep's uneasy. A noise jolts you awake, heart pounding. A shadow moves near the tents. You clutch your knife, ready. But it's just the guide checking camel ropes. You exhale, but your pulse races. The desert doesn't forgive carelessness. And you know you need to stay sharp. Dawn breaks, bringing familiar heat. The caravan packs up, heading for the next oasis, where you hope for clean water and shade. You tee your boots, brush sand from your face, and step forward. The Silk Road promises nothing but challenges. But here you are, amidst sand and stars, carrying silk and dreams. Part 2. Oasis Markets of Central Asia. You stumble forward. Sand still clinging to your boots from the Taklamakan's endless dunes. The sun's high now, baking the earth. But a faint green shimmer on the horizon pulls your caravan forward. Your throat's parched. Your pack's heavier than yesterday. And the camel beside you gives you a look that says, I'm done with this too. You're on the Silk Road, deep in Central Asia, around the 2nd century BCE, and you've just reached an oasis, a bustling hub where traders swap jade, stories, and suspicious glances. Remember that silk you're hauling for Rome. It's your ticket to survive this chaotic market, but only if you're sharp enough to avoid getting swindled. The oasis of Kashgar sprawls before you, a muddy, vibrant sprawl of tents, mud brick stalls, and shouting merchants. Palm trees sway above, their shade a mercy after days of scorching sand. The air's thick with the smell of roasted lamb, cumin, and sweat-soaked leather. You squint through the dust, dodging a cart piled with melons that nearly takes out your knees. Voices clash in a dozen tongues. Sogdian, Bactrian, Chinese, and some you can't place. Haggling over prices like it's a blood sport. You're no seasoned trader, just a weary traveller with a few rolls of silk. But this market's your chance to rest, resupply, and maybe not get robbed blind. You find a spot near a bubbling spring, the heart of the oasis, where women in bright headscarves fill clay jugs. You kneel, splashing water on your face, and it's so cold it makes your teeth ache. You gulp it down, tasting minerals and life itself. A kid nearby, no older than 10, tries to sell you a pomegranate for a silver coin. You laugh. Kid, I could buy a camel for that. He grins, unfazed, and tosses you a bruised one for free. You bite into it, the tart juice staining your chin. And for a moment, the desert feels far away. Your caravan leader, a grizzled Sogdian with a scar across his cheek, barks orders to unload. You help drag silk bales to a stall rented from a local broker, who charges enough to make you wince. The stall's a rickety wooden frame, draped with faded cloth. But it's prime real estate. Right by the main market square. You arrange the silk, its sheen catching eyes like a beacon. A Persian merchant in a turquoise robe saunters over, stroking his beard. Fine silk, he says, but his tone screams, I'm about to lowball you. You brace for the haggle, knowing one wrong word could cost you a week's worth of bread. Haggling, here's an art form, half theatre, half warfare. The Persian offers a stack of copper coins and a bolt of wool for your smallest silk roll. You scoff. This silk's fit for emperors, not your donkey's blanket. The crowd chuckles, and he raises his offer, tossing in a jade pendant. You counter, demanding dried figs and a water skin too. After 10 minutes of raised voices and fake walkaways, you settle, shaking hands with a grin. You're not sure who won, but you've got enough to eat tonight, and that's a victory. The market's a sensory assault. Stalls overflow with goods. Saffron piles glowing like gold. Turquoise, beads strung like stars. And carpets woven with dizzying patterns. A blacksmith hammers iron. Sparks flying like tiny comets. You pass a baker pulling flatbread from a clay oven. Its smoky aroma making your stomach growl. You trade a copper coin for a hot loaf, tearing it with your hands. The crust crackling like a desert fire. It's chewy, dusted with sesame, and tastes like survival. You wander deeper, past a storyteller spinning tales of Alexander the Great to a crowd of wide-eyed kids. His voice rises and falls, arms waving like he's summoning spirits. You pose, caught by his story of a city where gold rains from the sky. A pickpocket bumps you, and you clutch your pouch, glaring. He's gone before you can blink. Lesson learned, keep one hand on your coins and the other on your knife. The oasis isn't just a market, it's a cultural crossroads. Sogdians trade with Parthians, Buddhists barter with Zoroastrians, and everyone's got a story. You overhear a monk in saffron robes debating karma with a Greek trader who swears by Zeus. Mainstream historical fact, Kashgar, a key Silk Road hub by the 1st century CE, was a melting pot where Chinese, Persian, and Indian influences blended, evident in archaeological finds like bilingual coins and Buddhist stupas. Odd detail traders sometimes used knotted cords to record debts, a primitive accounting system that baffled outsiders. Historians still debate whether Kashgar's markets were more vital for goods or for spreading ideas like Buddhism westward. By afternoon, the heat's unbearable. and you duck into a tea stall. A low tent smelling of mint and smoke. You sip bitter green tea from a chipped clay cup, served by a woman with coal-lined eyes, who hums a tune you don't recognize. She tells you about a caravan ambushed last month. Bandits stealing everything but the camel's bad attitude. Stay sharp, she says, and you nod, wondering if your knife's sharp enough for more than cutting bread. You return to the stall, where your caravan's buzzing with deals. A Chinese trader swaps your silk for a crate of porcelain, delicate as eggshells, promising it'll fetch a fortune in Samarkand. You're skeptical, but his earnest nod convinces you. Another deal lands you a sack of dried apricots, sweet and chewy, a treat after days of stale bread. You munch one, watching a juggler toss knives to a cheering crowd. One slips, nearly skewering a bystander, and you laugh. That's one way to keep the market lively. Evening falls, and the market glows with oil lamps, casting flickering shadows. You sit by the spring, eating apricots and bread, listening to a flute player's haunting melody. A Bactrian trader joins you, offering a swig of fermented mare's milk from a leather flask. It's sewer, strong, and burns like bad decisions. But you take another sip to be polite. He talks of home, a valley where rivers run clear, and you share a half-true tale about your own village, adding a rogue wolf for flair. The night market hums, quieter, but no less alive. You spot a fortune teller, her face hidden by a veil, reading bones for a nervous merchant. You pass, not eager to know if bandits or bankruptcy await. Instead, you trade a coin for a skewer of grilled lamb, the meat tender and spiced with something that makes your tongue dance. You eat slowly, savoring the oasis's pulse. The laughter, the clink of coins, the life. Before bed, you check your goods. Now a mix of porcelain, apricots, and fewer silk rolls. You tie them tight, wary of thieves. The caravan plans to leave at dawn, heading west towards Samarkand. You lie on a straw mat under the stars, the flute's melody lingering in your ears. The oasis has given you rest, food, and a few coins. But the road ahead promises more sand and danger. You close your eyes, the market's hum fading, ready for whatever the Silk Road throws next. Part 3. Monsoon Sails of Indian Ocean. You're swaying on the creaking deck of a dhow, salt spray stinging your face as the wind howls through patched sails. The desert sands of Kashgar's oasis are a distant memory now, replaced by the endless turquoise expanse of the Indian Ocean. It's the 1st century CE, and you're part of a monsoon trade route, sailing from the Malabar coast of India toward the bustling ports of Arabia. Your cargo sacks of pepper, cinnamon, and ivory is lashed tight below. But the pitching waves make you wonder if you'll ever see land again. Remember that porcelain you traded for in Kashgar? It's rattling ominously in the hold, and you're praying it doesn't shatter before you reach port. The dhow, a wooden vessel with a triangular sail, cuts through the choppy sea, guided by a grizzled Tamil captain who reads the stars like a map. The monsoon winds, predictable yet fierce, propel you forward, but they also whip the ocean into a frothy beast. You grip the rail, your stomach lurching with every swell, and mutter, "Why didn't I stick to camels?" A sailor nearby laughs, his teeth stained red from chewing betel nut, and slaps your back. First time at sea, you'll either love it or puke. You force a smile, hoping it's the former, but your breakfast of flatbread and dried fish isn't sitting well. The deck's a chaos of coiled ropes, water barrels, and sailors shouting in a mix of Tamil, Arabic, and Swahili. Your new mariner, just a trader hitching a ride with your goods. But you've learned fast. Stay out of the way and keep your knife handy. The crew's a motley bunch, from wiry Indian deckhands to a broad-shouldered Omani navigator who curses the wind in 3 languages. They work in rhythm, hauling sails and checking leaks, while you try not to trip over a stray goat tied near the mast. Why's there a goat? Nobody explains. But it's eyeing your boots like they're lunch. You duck below deck to check your cargo. The air thick with the scent of spices and damp wood. The pepper sacks are secure, their sharp aroma making your eyes water. The cinnamon sticks, bundled like treasure, are worth more than gold in Rome. And the ivory tusks, traded from an African merchant in Kashgar, are your big gamble. You pat the porcelain crate, whispering, "Don't break, please," like it's a skittish camel. A rut-scurry past, and you jump, nearly knocking over a water jug. "Great," you mutter. "Now I'm fighting rodents and waves." Back on deck, the captain calls you over, pointing to a smudge on the horizon. "Aden," he says, his voice rough as coral. "The port's a key stop, where you'll trade spices for frankincense and pearls." You nod, trying to look confident, but the sea's vastness makes you feel like a speck of dust. The monsoon trade routes, stretching from India to East Africa and Arabia, are the arteries of ancient commerce. Ships like yours carry not just goods, but languages, religions, and ideas, linking empires in a web of wind and water. Lunch is a communal affair, the crew squatting around a pot of rice mixed with lentils and a fiery curry that burns your tongue. You scoop it with your fingers, the heat making you sweat more than the sun. A sailor offers you a coconut. It's water-sweet and cool, and you drink greedily, dribbling half down your chin. "Better than Kashgar's dirt water," you say, and the crew laughs. Another jokes. "Wait till you try our rum." You decline, knowing you need your wits for the market ahead. The sea calms as evening nears, the waves softening to a gentle roll. You lean against the rail, watching dolphins leap in the ship's wake, their arcs glinting under the setting sun. The captain tells you about Aden's markets, where traders from Rome to China barter under palm shades. Mainstream historical fact: the Indian Ocean trade, flourishing by the 1st century CE, connected Rome, India, and East Africa, with ports like Aden and Muziris handling vast wealth, as documented in the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. A Greek merchant's guide. Odd detail: sailors sometimes used seabirds' migration patterns to navigate, tying feathers to masts as good luck charms. Historians still debate whether Indian Ocean trade spread diseases like smallpox as far as Rome, paralleling the Silk Road's role. Night falls, and the stars blaze brighter than any oasis sky. You sit with the crew around a flickering lamp, sharing stories. An Ethiopian sailor spins a tale of a sea monster that swallows ships whole. You scoff. "Sounds like my last bad trade deal," but the crew's hushed faces make you shiver. Another tells of a Roman buyer who paid for pepper with a chest of gold, only to lose it to pirates. You clutch your pouch tighter, the weight of your coins, a small comfort. The wind picks up, and the sails snap like thunder. You help haul a rope, your hands burning, feeling useful for once. The captain nods approval, and you grin, though your arms scream in protest. A sudden wave drenches you, and the crew roars with laughter. "Welcome to the sea, land rat," one shouts. You shake off the water, muttering, "At least it's cooler than the desert." As dawn breaks, Aden's port emerges, a cluster of whitewashed buildings and minarets against a rocky coast. The harbour's alive with dhows, galleys, and fishermen in tiny skiffs. You dock, the crew scrambling to unload. You carry your pepper sack to the market. A maze of stalls piled with incense, pearls, and dyed cloth. A Yemeni trader eyes your goods, offering myrrh and a string of coral beads. You haggle, your voice hoarse from shouting over the crowd, and settle for a deal that leaves you with a profit and a new water skin. The market's a riot of colour and noise. You buy a skewer of grilled fish, its smoky flavour cutting through the salt on your lips. A street performer juggles fire, nearly singeing a bystander. And you chuckle. He'd fit right in at Kashgar's chaos. You trade a coin for a clay cup of cardamom tea, its warmth soothing your sea-weary bones. A woman selling pearls warns you of pirates off Oman's coast. Sail fast, she says, and you nod, hoping your captain's as good as he seems. By afternoon, you're back on the dhow, your cargo lighter, but your pouch heavier. The crew's loading frankincense, its resinous scent filling the air. You sit on deck, munching a date, watching gulls circle the harbour. The monsoon winds will carry you next to East Africa, where ivory fetches top coin. You're tired, salt-crusted, and a little richer, but the sea's call is growing on you. You lean back, the dhow rocking gently, and think, maybe I'm not such a land rat after all. Part 4. Amber Road's Baltic Traders. You're shivering in a damp wool cloak, boots sinking into the muddy trail as a cold wind cuts through the pine forest. The Indian Ocean's salty spray is a fading dream, replaced by the sharp scent of resin and wet earth on the Amber Road. A trade route snaking through northern Europe around the 1st century CE. Your pack's heavy with furs from a Kashgar deal, but you're here to trade for amber, the golden resin prized by Romans as much as your silk. Remember that frankincense you picked up in Aden? It's tucked safe. A bargaining chip for the Baltic's treasures. The forest looms, dark and silent, and you're wondering if wolves or bandits will get you first. The trail's a rutted mess, churned by carts and hooves, flanked by towering pines that block the sun. You're travelling with a small band of traders, a mix of burly Germanic tribesmen and a wiry Slavic guide who hums off-key. Their sledges, piled with hides and iron tools, creak under the weight. You clutch your staff, less for balance and more for the comfort of something solid. A twig snaps nearby, and you freeze, heart pounding, but it's just a deer bolting through the underbrush. Relax, the guide mutters. Wolves don't haggle. You force a laugh, but your eyes keep scanning the shadows. You're headed to a trading post near the Baltic coast, where amber washes ashore like gifts from the sea. The road's been used for centuries, linking the Baltic to the Mediterranean, swapping resin for bronze, wine, and coins. You trudge on, mud sucking at your boots, and pass a roadside shrine, a wooden idol crusted with offerings of bread and feathers. You toss a dried apricot from your Aden haul, just in case the local gods are picky. Better safe than cursed. Right, the forest opens to a clearing, and the trading post appears. A cluster of timber huts and smoky fires. The air's alive with the tang of fish, tar, and something sweet, like honey gone wild. Traders huddle around stalls, their breath steaming in the chill. You spot amber chunks glinting on a table, some cloudy, others clear as frozen sunlight. A bearded goth trader, his cloak pinned with a bronze brooch, catches your eye. Furs for amber, he grunts, pointing to your pack. You nod, ready to play the haggling game again, though your teeth are chattering too hard for charm. You unpack the furs, their musky scent mixing with the pine air. The goth runs calloused fingers over them, nodding approval. You point to a fist-sized amber piece, its surface trapping a tiny insect like a secret from another age. He offers a smaller chunk and a bone-handled knife. You scoff. My furs warmed a king's bed. Not a fisherman's shack. The crowd chuckles. And he ups the deal, adding a string of glass beads. After a back and forth that leaves you both red-faced, you settle, pocketing the amber and beads, plus a sack of smoked herring for the road. Not bad for a morning's work. The post's a lively hub, smaller than Kashgar, but no less chaotic. Stalls brim with furs, iron axes, and clay pots etched with spirals. A woman roasts venison over a fire, the fat popping like tiny thunderclaps. You trade a coin for a skewer. The meat, tough, but rich, paired with a hunk of rye bread that tastes like the forest itself. You chew slowly, watching a bard strum, a lyre, singing of a hero who wrestled a sea serpent. His voice is thin, but the crowd tosses coins, and you join in, thinking, better than that sea monster yarn from the Tao. The Amber Road's more than a trade route. It's a lifeline for tribes scattered across these wild lands. Amber, harvested from Baltic shores, was sacred to summer, a gift from the gods, and to Romans, a status symbol for jewelry and amulets. Mainstream historical fact: archaeological digs along the Vistula River, a key Amber Road artery, reveal trade goods from the 1st century CE, including Roman coins and Baltic amber in Italian graves, proving the route's reach. Odd detail: some tribes buried amber with their dead, believing it carried souls to the afterlife, a practice that baffled Roman buyers. Historians still debate whether the Amber Road's wealth sparked early Germanic state formation or just fueled tribal feuds. You wander the post, dodging a cart of squealing pigs that nearly bowls you over. A blacksmith's hammer rings out, shaping iron into blades, and you're tempted to trade for one. But your pouch is light. Instead, you buy a clay cup of mead from a grinning woman who claims it's brewed with forest honey. It's sweet, strong, and warms your chest like a tiny hearth. She warns you of bandits in the next valley. Stick with the group, she says, and you nod, remembering Kashgar's pickpockets. By afternoon, the cold's biting harder, and you huddle by a fire with your group. A Germanic trader shares a tale of a shipwreck where amber washed ashore in heaps. The gods were drunk that day. He laughs, and you grin, picturing a beach, glittering like gold. You offer a story from Aden, exaggerating the dolphins into sea dragons. And the group roars. You're no sailor. One teases. And you shrug. Better at trading than swimming. Evening drapes the post in twilight, and oil lamps flicker to life. You eat herring and bread, the fish's smoky tang cutting through the mead's sweetness. A drumbeat starts, and locals dance, their shadows leaping on the huts. You watch, too tired to join. But the rhythm stirs something in you. A trader offers you a puff of his pipe. Its smoke bitter and strange, but you wave it off, joking. I'd rather keep my head clear for bandits, he laughs. And you feel a flicker of belonging in this cold, wild place. Before sleep, you check your amber. Its weight, reassuring in your pack. The group plans to push north tomorrow, toward the coast, where more resin awaits. You lie on a straw pallet in a smoky hut. The fires glow, dancing on the walls. The forest whispers outside, a mix of wind and distant wolves. You think of the silk you started with, now traded for furs, frankincense, and amber. Each deal a step deeper into this ancient web. You close your eyes. The drums echo fading, ready for the road's next challenge. Part 5. Incense Routes Arabian Caravans. You're swaying atop a camel, its lurching gait jarring your bones as the Arabian sun blisters your skin. The Baltic's chilly forests are a distant memory, replaced by the endless ochre dunes of the incense route. Put a trade artery snaking through the deserts of southern Arabia around the 3rd century BCE. Your pack's stuffed with amber from the Baltic trade. But here, you're after frankincense, the fragrant resin worth more than gold to Egyptian priests and Roman senators. Remember that mead you sipped by the fire. Its warmth is a faint echo now, drowned by the dry heat that makes every breath feel like inhaling sand. You squint ahead, hoping for an oasis, but all you see is a shimmering haze. The caravan stretches behind you, a line of 20 camels laden with myrrh, or spices, and bolts of dyed cloth. Their bells jingle faintly. A lifeline in the silence of the desert. You're traveling with Nabatean traders, their dark eyes scanning the horizon, hands resting on curved daggers. The lead camel driver, a wiry man with a turban caked in dust, mutters prayers to Al-Lat, goddess of the sands. You clutch your water skin, its contents warm and dwindling, and think, why didn't I stay by the Baltic's cool rivers? A trader nearby chuckles, catching your grimace. First time in the empty quarter, it chews up soft feet. You nod, forcing a grin, but your blistered toes aren't laughing. The trail's barely a path, marked by sun-bleached stones and the occasional skeleton of a camel that didn't make it. You're headed to Shabwa, a trading hub where frankincense flows like water in less god-forsaken places. The incense route links Arabia's resin-rich groves to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and beyond, feeding temples and palaces with sacred scents. You pass a weathered rock carved with a camel, a signpost from traders, long gone. You trace it with a finger, wondering if it's a blessing or a warning, and toss a Baltic bead as an offering, just in case. Shabwa emerges like a mirage, its mud brick walls rising from the sand. The air shifts, carrying the sharp tang of frankincense and roasted goat. You dismount, knees wobbling, and lead your camel to a crowded market square, stalls brim with resin nuggets, their milky glow catching the sun, alongside piles of cinnamon and indigo-dyed cloth. A Yemeni merchant, his robe embroidered with silver, eyes your ember. Northern gold, he says, voice smooth as oil. You nod, ready to haggle, but your throat's too dry for flair. You unpack the amber, its fossilized glow drawing gasps from the crowd. The merchant offers a sack of frankincense and a bronze incense burner. You scoff. This amber's fit for a pharaoh's crown. Dot your campfire. The crowd laughs, and he ups the ante, adding a jar of myrrh and a camel hair rug. You counter, demanding dried dates and a new water skin. After a heated exchange, you shake hands, your pack now heavier with resin and lighter with amber. You're not sure who outsmarted whom, but the dates are sweet. And that's enough for now. The market's a furnace of noise and colour. Traders shout in Arabic, Sabaean, and tongues you can't place, bartering over everything from pearls to peacock feathers. You weave through, dodging a boy, herding goats that nearly trample your toes. A woman grilling flatbread over coals hands you a piece. Its smoky warmth, a balm for your hunger. You pair it with a date, the sweetness cutting through the desert's grit, and mutter, better than Kashgar's rock-hard loaves. A nearby trader overhears and grins, tossing you another date for the compliment. The incense route isn't just about trade, it's a sacred pipeline. Frankincense, harvested from boswellia trees, was burned in temples from Thebes to Babylon, its smoke carrying prayers to the gods. Mainstream historical fact, the Nabateans, who controlled key incense route cities like Petra, by the 1st century BCE, grew wealthy, taxing resin caravans. Their rock-cut tombs, a testament to their power, as seen in archaeological sites. Odd detail, some traders smeared frankincense resin on their skin as a primitive sunscreen, leaving them smelling like a temple, but sticky as glue. Historians still debate whether the incense root's wealth fueled Nabatean independence or made them targets for Roman conquest. You drift to a stall selling incense burners, their bronze surfaces etched with stars. A girl, no older than 12, offers you a clay lamp for a coin. You buy it, charmed by her sales pitch about lighting your way to paradise. She warns of bandits near the next pass. They strike at dusk, she says, and you nod. Remembering the Baltic's shadowy trails, you tuck the lamp in your pack, hoping it's more useful than the pipe you dodged last time. By noon, the heat's a hammer, and you seek shade under a palm canopy. You sip watered-down wine from a skin, its sour edge barely quenching your thirst. A Sabayan trader joins you, sharing a tale of a caravan lost to a sandstorm, their frankincense scattered like snow. The gods were angry, he says, and you joke. Maybe they just hated their cooking. He laughs, offering you a puff of his water pipe. It's smoke, sweet with resin. You decline, saying, "I'd rather keep my lungs for breathing sand." He grins, and you swap stories. Yours embellished with a sea dragon from Aden. Evening paints the dunes gold, and the market glows with torches. You eat goat stew, your spices tingling your lips, served with bread so soft it feels like a luxury. A drummer starts a beat, and traders clap, their shadows dancing on the walls. You watch, too weary to join, but the rhythm lifts your spirits. A storyteller spins a yarn about a djinn guarding a frankincense grove, and you lean in, half believing under the starlit sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now, a mix of frankincense, myrrh, and a few amber chunks. The caravan plans to head north tomorrow, toward Petra's stone gates. You lie on a woven mat in a mud brick hut. The desert's silence broken by a camel's grunt. You think of the silk, amber, and now resin you've carried, each trade binding you to this ancient path. You close your eyes, the drums echo fading, ready for the sands ahead. Part 6. Sahara's Salt Caravans. You're trudging across the Sahara, sand burning through your worn sandals as a relentless sun scorches your back. The Arabian dunes of the incense root feel like a gentle breeze compared to this furnace. Where the horizon shimmers with cruel promises of water, it's the 8th century CE, and you're part of a salt caravan crossing the vast desert from Timbuktu to the markets of North Africa. Your pack's heavy with frankincense from Shabwa. But here, salt is the white gold everyone craves. Remember that clay lamp you bought in the market? It's tucked in your bag. A small comfort against the endless dunes that threaten to swallow you whole. The caravan's a lifeline of 40 camels, their humps sagging under slabs of salt mined from the desert's depths. Their bells clank dully, a faint rhythm against the wind's low moan. You're with Tuareg traders, their indigo veils stained with dust. Eyes sharp above, face scarves. The lead driver, a tall man with a staff carved with geometric patterns, scans the dunes for signs of raiders. You clutch your water skin, its contents warm and gritty, and mutter, "Why didn't I stick to Arabian oases?" A trader nearby chuckles, his voice muffled by his veil. The Sahara laughs at weak hearts. You nod, forcing a grin, but your cracked lips aren't in the mood for humor. The trail's a ghost of a path, marked by wind-scoured rocks and the occasional bleached bone of a camel or, worse, a man. You're headed to Tagaza, a salt mining hub where traders swap slabs for gold and grain. The Sahara's trade routes, linking West Africa to the Mediterranean, are veins of commerce, carrying salt, gold, and sometimes slaves across a merciless void. You pass a lone acacia tree, its twisted branches clawing at the sky. You toss a date from your Shabwa stash as an offering, hoping the desert spirits are kinder than the sun. Tagaza appears like a fever dream, its salt-crusted huts glinting under the noon glare. The air's thick with dust and the sour tang of sweat-soaked camels. You dismount, legs trembling, and lead your camel to a crowded market square. Stalls are piled with salt slabs, some as big as shields, alongside baskets of millet and dried meat. A Berber merchant, his turban loose from the heat, eyes your frankincense. Sweet smoke, he says, voice dry as the sand. You nod, ready to haggle. Though your throat's too parched for charm, you unpack the frankincense, its resinous glow drawing curious glances. The merchant offers a salt slab and a sack of sorghum. You scoff. This incense perfumes palaces, not your soup pot. The crowd laughs, and he ups the deal, adding a gold nugget the size of a walnut. You counter, demanding a water skin and a strip of dried goat. After a tense exchange, you settle, your pack now heavier with salt and lighter with incense. You're not sure who got the better end, but the gold's weight feels like a small victory. The market's a gritty pulse of life. Traders shout in Tamashek, Arabic, and Songhai, Batiang or Waselt, cloth, and cowrie shells. You dodge a camel that nearly spits in your face, its handler cursing in a language you don't know. A woman roasting millet cakes over a fire hands you one, its nutty warmth easing your hunger. You pair it with dried goat, chewy and salty, and mutter, better than Shabwa's tough bread. A nearby trader overhears and tosses you a grin, offering a sip of palm wine that burns like fire. The Sahara's salt trade isn't just commerce, it's survival. Salt, mined from ancient evaporated lakes, was vital for preserving food and health in West Africa's humid south. Mainstream historical fact, Timbuktu, by the 8th century CE, was a thriving trade center, with salt caravans fueling the Mali Empire's wealth, as evidenced by Arabic traveller Ibn Battuta's accounts. Odd detail, some Tuareg traders wore salt slabs as armor in battles, believing their value warded off evil spirits. Historians still debate whether the Sahara trade's gold flow sparked Europe's medieval economic revival or merely enriched local kings. You wander to a stall selling brass jewelry, its glint catching the sun. A boy, barely 10, offers you a ring for a coin. You buy it, charmed by his tale of it, bringing luck against sandstorms. He warns of raiders near the next dune. They strike at dawn, he says, and you nod. Recalling Shabwa's bandit tales, you slip the ring on, hoping it's worth more than the Baltic beads you traded away. By afternoon, the heat's a hammer, and you seek shade under a tattered canopy. You sip stale water, its grit coating your tongue, and share a story with a Songhai trader about Aden's dolphins. He tells of a caravan that vanished, leaving only salt slabs in the sand. The desert eats the careless, he says, and you joke. Good thing, I'm only careless with my haggling. He laughs, offering you a puff of his pipe, its smoke sharp with herbs. You decline, saying, I'd rather keep my head for dodging camels. He grins, and you feel a flicker of camaraderie. Evening drapes the market in twilight, and fires glow like stars. You eat millet porridge, its blandness spiked with dried meat, served with a clay spoon that's seen better days. A drummer starts a low beat, and traders sway, their shadows flickering on the huts. You watch, too weary to dance, but the rhythm stirs your blood. A storyteller spins a tale of a salt spirit guarding Tagaza's mines, and you lean in, half believing under the desert sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now salt, gold, and a bit of frankincense. The caravan plans to head north tomorrow, toward Sijilmasa's markets. You lie on a reed mat in a dusty hut. The desert silence, broken by a camel's snort. You think of the silk, amber, and now salt you've carried. Each trade tying you to this ancient path. You close your eyes. The drums echo fading, ready for the dunes ahead. Part 7. Via Appia's Roman March. You're trudging along a stone-paved road, your sandals slapping against smooth basalt as a warm breeze carries the scent of olive groves and dust. The Sahara's scorching dunes are a distant memory, replaced by the rolling hills of central Italy on the Via Appia, Rome's greatest highway. Around 900 BCE, your pack's heavy with salt slabs from Tagaza. But here, you're after Roman wine and bronze, goods to trade for profit or survival. Remember that brass ring you bought in the desert? It's still on your finger. A small charm against the bandits, rumored to haunt these hills. The road stretches ahead, straight as a spear, and you're wondering if Rome's glory is worth the blisters. The Via Appia, nicknamed the Queen of Roads, is a marvel of engineering. Its stones fitted so tightly you can't slip a knife between them. You're traveling with a mixed group, Roman merchants in togas, a grizzled legionary escort, and a Greek trader who mutters about taxes. Their mules, laden with amphorae of oil and grain, clop steadily, hoovers echoing like a drumbeat. You grip your staff, eyes scanning the cypress trees for trouble. A crow caws overhead, and you mutter, "Why didn't I stay in Tagaza's markets?" The legionary, his armor glinting, overhears and grins. Rome's roads are safer than desert sands. But only just. You nod. But your aching feet aren't convinced. The road's alive with travelers, from pilgrims to couriers on horseback, kicking up dust. You're headed to Capua, a trade hub where your salt can fetch a high price. The Via Appia links Rome to southern Italy, carrying armies, goods, and ambition across the empire. You pass a milestone, its Latin inscription weathered but proud, and toss a Tagaza date as an offering to Mercury, god of trade. Better to hedge your bets than tempt fate on Rome's highways. Capua's walls loom ahead, a sprawl of brick and marble under a hazy sky. The air shifts, thick with the smell of baking bread, leather, and mule sweat. You enter the market, a chaotic square of shouting vendors and bleating goats. Stalls brim with wine jars, bronze tools, and wool dyed crimson. A Roman merchant, his toga edged with purple, eyes your salt, desert gold, he says, voice sharp as a gladius. You nod, ready to haggle, though your legs scream for rest after miles of stone. You unpack the salt, its white slabs gleaming like marble. The merchant offers a jug of Falernian wine and a bronze lamp. You scoff. This salt seasons emperors' feasts. Not your tavern slop, the crowd chuckles, and he ups the deal, adding a sack of barley and a silver denarius. You counter, demanding olives and a wool cloak. After a fierce exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with salt and heavier with wine and coin. You're not sure who won, but the olives are tangy, and that's a small triumph. The market's a Roman circus of noise and colour. Traders bark in Latin, Greek, and Punic, bartering over fish sauce, pottery, and glass beads. You dodge a cart of squawking chickens that nearly clips your shins. A baker hands you a warm loaf, its crust cracking like a desert rock, and you pair it with an olive, muttering, "Better than Tagaza's gritty cakes." A nearby vendor grins, tossing you another olive for the praise, and you pocket it with a wink. The Via Appia isn't just a road, it's Rome's backbone, binding the empire's far-flung cities. Built in 312 BCE by Appius Claudius, it stretched over 350 miles, enabling legions to march and merchants to thrive. Mainstream historical fact: the Via Appia's durable basalt paving, still visible today, was a feat of Roman engineering, with archaeological evidence showing its role in military and trade dominance. Odd detail travelers sometimes carved graffiti on milestones, boasting of love or cursing slow mules, a habit that amused Roman poets. Historians still debate whether the Via Appia's economic benefits outweighed its cost, or if it mainly served Rome's military ego. You wander to a stall selling bronze tools, their edges sharp enough to shave with. A boy offers you a knife for a coin, claiming it's blessed by Vulcan. You buy it, charmed by his tale. But his warning of thieves near the next town makes you grip your pouch tighter. "Keep to the road," he says, echoing Tagaza's bandit tales. You nod, slipping the knife into your belt, hoping it's sharper than the Baltic beads you once trusted. By noon, the sun's a hammer, and you seek shade under an olive tree. You sip watered wine, its tang cutting through the dust, and share a story with a Latin trader about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a caravan robbed by Etruscan bandits, their loot buried under a sacred oak. The gods cursed them, he says, and you joke. "Good thing I only curse my bad deals," he laughs, offering a swig of his wine. "Stronger than yours." You decline, saying, "I'd rather keep my wits for Rome's tricks." He grins, and you feel a spark of kinship. Evening bathes the market in golden light, and torches flare to life. You eat barley stew, its warmth spiked with herbs, served with bread, soft as a cloud. A flute player starts a tune, and traders clap, their shadows dancing on the walls. You watch, too tired to join, but the melody lifts your spirits. A storyteller spins a yarn about a Roman hero who built the road single-handedly, and you lean in, half believing under the starry sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now wine, bronze, and a bit of salt. The group plans to head south tomorrow, toward Brundisium's ports. You lie on a straw mat in a stone inn. The roads hum broken by a mule's bray. You think of the silk, amber, and now wine you've carried, each trade weaving you into this empire's pulse. You close your eyes, the flute's echo fading, ready for the stones ahead. Part 8. Camino de Santiago's Pilgrims. You're trudging along a dusty trail, your worn boots crunching gravel as a cool breeze carries the scent of wild thyme and dew-soaked grass. The Via Appia's stone highways are a distant memory, replaced by the winding paths of northern Spain on the Camino de Santiago, a sacred pilgrimage route in the 10th century CE. Your pack's light, holding just a few bronze tools from Capua. But here, you're seeking something intangible: redemption, or at least a good story. Remember that silver denarius you haggled for in Rome? It's sewn into your cloak, a small anchor against the uncertainties of this holy road. The path stretches toward the horizon, and you're wondering if the blisters are worth the promise of Santiago's shrine. The Camino, or Way of St. James, is a network of trails leading to the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, where the Apostle James is said to rest. You're on the Camino Frances, the most travelled route, joined by a ragtag group of pilgrims, a French monk muttering prayers, a German widow with a limp, and an Italian youth who sings off-key. Their staffs tap the ground in rhythm, a quiet beat under the chatter. You clutch your pilgrim's staff, carved with a cross, and scan the rolling hills for bandits or stray dogs. A bell tolls faintly from a distant village, and you mutter, "Why didn't I stay on Rome's solid roads?" The monk overhears. Smiling, the soul's path is never easy. Friend, you nod, but your aching knees aren't feeling spiritual. The trail's a mix of dirt and stone, flanked by wheat fields and gnarled oaks. You're headed to Lyon, a key stop where pilgrims rest and pray. The Camino's been trodden for centuries, drawing souls seeking forgiveness, miracles, or just a break from medieval life. You pass a stone cross, weathered and mossy, and toss a Capua olive as an offering, hoping St. James appreciates the gesture. Better to charm the saints than tempt their wrath on this sacred trek. Lyon's spires rise ahead, a cluster of stone and faith under a cloudy sky. The air shifts, carrying the smell of baking bread, incense, and damp wool. You enter the city, its narrow streets buzzing with pilgrims, vendors, and chanting monks. The market's small but lively, with stalls offering wool cloaks, clay rosaries, and scallop shells. The Camino's symbol, a Castilian merchant, his beard flecked with grey, eyes your bronze tools. "Pilgrims trade?" he asks, voice warm but cunning. You nod, ready to barter, though your feet beg for a bench. You unpack the tools, their edges glinting in the sun. The merchant offers a shell necklace and a loaf of rye bread. You scoff. These tools forged Roman swords, not your kitchen spoons. The crowd chuckles, and he ups the deal, adding a flask of wine and a woven belt. You counter, demanding a pair of socks and a candle for the cathedral. After a spirited exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with bronze and heavier with pilgrim gear. You're not sure who came out ahead, but the bread's warm, and that's a small grace. The market's a tapestry of faith and commerce. Pilgrims barter in Latin, French, and broken Spanish, swapping relics, food, and tales of miracles. You dodge a mule cart, loaded with hay that nearly clips your elbow. A baker hands you a barley roll, its crust chewy and sweet, and you pair it with a sip of wine, muttering, "Better than Tagaza's gritty porridge." A nearby pilgrim grins, tossing you a fig for the compliment, and you pocket it with a nod. The Camino isn't just a pilgrimage, it's a medieval social network, uniting kings, peasants, and sinners under a shared goal. Built up in the 9th century after the discovery of St. James's tomb, it drew thousands, boosting local economies and spreading Christian unity. Mainstream historical fact: the Codex Calixtinus, a 12th century guidebook, details the Camino's routes and shrines, proving its role as a major medieval pilgrimage, with archaeological sites like Leozen's cathedral confirming its wealth. Odd detail: some pilgrims carried lead badges shaped like shells, sewn onto hats as proof of their journey, often tossed into rivers as offerings. Historians still debate whether the Camino's spiritual draw outweighed its economic impact, or if it was a medieval tourist trap. You wander to a stall selling relics, their wooden cases etched with crosses, A girl offers you a bone fragment, claiming it's from St. James's camel. You laugh. Camels in Galilee, nice try, but buy a candle instead. Charmed by her grin, she warns of thieves near the next village. Keep your coin close, she says, echoing Capua's cautions. You nod, tucking the candle in your pack, hoping it lights more than just the dark. By noon, the sun's gentle, and you rest under a church portico. You sip wine, its tang soothing your throat, and share a story with a French pilgrim about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a miracle at a Camino shrine, where a lame man walked after praying. The saint's power, he says, and you joke. Hope he fixes my blisters too, he laughs, offering a shared fig. But you decline, swapping a Baltic tale instead. He grins, and you feel the Camino's quiet bond. Evening bathes Lyon in amber light, and church bells ring. You eat barley stew, its warmth laced with herbs, served with bread soft as a prayer. A lute player strums nearby, and pilgrims sing, their voices rising to the stars. You watch, too weary to join, but the melody lifts your soul. A monk recites a tale of St. James slaying a dragon, and you lean in, half believing, under the sacred sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now shells, wine, and a few tools. The group plans to head west tomorrow, towards Santiago's shrine. You lie on a straw pallet in a pilgrim hostel, the bells echo broken by a snore. You think of the silk, salt, and now relics you've carried, each step weaving you into this holy path. You close your eyes, the lute's tune fading, ready for the trail ahead. Part 9. Great Migration's Steppe Nomads. You're galloping across a sea of grass, the wind whipping your face as your horse's hooves thunder against the earth. The Camino's sacred trails are a distant memory, replaced by the boundless Eurasian steppe, where the horizon stretches like an unbroken promise. It's the 3rd millennium BCE, and you're riding with a band of Yamnaya nomads, part of the great migrations that reshaped the ancient world. Your pack's light, holding just a scallop shell from Lyon and a bronze knife from Capua. But here, survival depends on your horse and your wits. Remember that candle you bought for Santiago's shrine? It's tucked in your bag. A faint flicker of faith against the wild unknown. The steppe rolls on, and you're wondering if you'll outrun the wolves or the storms first. Your horse snorts, its breath steaming in the cool dawn air. The Yamnaya, a nomadic people of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, are your companions, lean riders in leather tunics, their faces weathered by sun and wind, their herd of shaggy horses and cattle trails behind, kicking up dust that stings your eyes. You grip the reins, thighs aching from days in the saddle, and mutter, "Why didn't I stick to Leon's dusty paths?" A young herder nearby, his braid swinging, grins. The steppe tests the strong you nod. But your sore back isn't feeling heroic. The trail's no trail at all. Just trampled grass and faint wheel ruts from ox-drawn wagons. You're headed east, toward a seasonal camp where tribes trade hides, tools, and tales. The steppe migrations, spanning millennia, carried people and ideas across Eurasia. From the Black Sea to Mongolia, you pass a kurgan, a burial mound capped with stones, and toss a Lyon fig as an offering, hoping the ancestors approve. Better to honor the dead than risk their ghostly grudges. The camp emerges, a sprawl of felt yurts and smoky fires under a vast sky. The air's sharp with the smell of roasted mutton, horse sweat, and burning dung. You dismount, legs wobbling, and tether your horse beside a chattering stream. The market's loose. Just blankets spread with goods, flint arrows, bone combs, and horsehair ropes. A Yamnaya trader, her eyes lined with coal, spots your bronze knife. Southern metal, she says, voice low and curious. You nod, ready to barter. Though your hands tremble from the cold, you unsheath the knife, its edge catching the firelight. The trader offers a horsehide blanket and a clay pot. You scoff. This blade cuts Roman steel. Not your campfire kindling, the crowd chuckles. And she ups the deal, adding a flint axe and a pouch of dried mare's milk. You counter, demanding wool socks and a bone needle. After a sharp exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with the knife and heavier with step gear. You're not sure who outsmarted whom, but the blanket's warm, and that's a win. The camp's a pulse of nomadic life. Herders shout in a guttural tongue, bartering over horses, furs, and copper beads. You dodge a galloping colt that nearly bowls you over, its rider laughing. A woman grilling mutton skewers hands you one, its fat sizzling, and you pair it with a sip of fermented milk, muttering, better than Leone's barley slop. A nearby herder grins, tossing you a dried apple for the praise, and you pocket it with a nod. The steppe migrations weren't just wanderings, they were seismic shifts, spreading languages, technologies, and genes across continents. Mainstream historical fact, the Yamnaya, around 3000 BCE, are linked to the spread of Indo-European languages, with their kurgan burials and wheeled wagons found from Ukraine to Kazakhstan. As confirmed by DNA studies, odd detail, some nomads dyed their horses' manes with plant pigments for rituals, a splash of color that startled settled farmers. Historians still debate whether the Yamnaya's migrations were peaceful exchanges or violent invasions. Reshaping ancient Europe's cultures, you wander to a yurt selling horse gear, its leather straps oiled and tough. A boy offers you a bridle for a coin, claiming it's blessed by the sky god. You laugh. Sky gods don't ride my nag, but buy a bone comb instead. Charmed by his grin, he warns of rival tribes near the next river. They steal horses at dusk. He says, echoing Leon's thief tales. You nod, tucking the comb in your pack, hoping it's luckier than Capua's ring. By noon, the wind's biting, and you huddle by a fire. You sip Mara's milk, its sour tang warming your throat, and share a story with a Yamnaya rider about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a kurgan haunted by a warrior's ghost, his spear still striking foes. The steppe remembers, he says, and you joke. Hope it forgets my bad trades. He laughs, offering a shared apple, but you decline, swapping a Tagaza tail instead. He grins, and you feel the steppe's wild bond. Evening paints the camp in twilight, and fires glow like stars. You eat mutton stew, its warmth laced with wild herbs, served with flatbread tough as leather. A drum starts a beat, and herders dance, their shadows leaping on the yurts. You watch, too weary to join, but the rhythm stirs your blood. A singer chants of a hero who tamed the wind, and you lean in, half believing, under the endless sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now hides, flint, and a bit of bronze. The band plans to head north tomorrow, toward a river crossing. You lie on a horsehair mat in a smoky yurt, the steppe's silence broken by a horse's whinny. You think of the silk, salt, and now hides you've carried, each step tying you to this ancient migration. You close your eyes, the drums echo fading, ready for the grasslands ahead. Part 10. Spice Routes, Jungle Trails. You're hacking through dense jungle. Sweat dripping from your brow as vines snag your tattered tunic. The Yamnaya's open steppes are a distant memory, replaced by the steamy, tangled wilderness of Southeast Asia's spice route. Around the 5th century CE, your pack's heavy with horsehide from the nomad camp. But here, you're chasing cloves and nutmeg, spices worth more than gold in distant markets. Remember that bone comb you traded for in the yurt? It's tangled in your hair now. A small anchor against the jungle's chaos. The trail hums with insects, and you're wondering if snakes or bandits will strike first. The path's a muddy ribbon, barely wide enough for your boots, choked with roots and ferns. You're traveling with a band of Malay traders, their sarongs damp with sweat, machetes gleaming at their waists. Their chatter, a mix of local tongues and Sanskrit, blends with the jungle's cacophony of bird calls and rustling leaves. You grip your staff, eyes darting to every shadow, and mutter, "Why didn't I stay on the steppes' open grass?" A trader nearby, his beetle-stained grin flashing, chuckles. The jungle eats the careless you nod. But your itching skin isn't feeling brave. The trail's marked by carved stones, half swallowed by moss, guiding you to a trading post on Sumatra's coast. The spice route, linking Indonesia to India and beyond, feeds empires with flavors that ignite feasts from Rome to Chang'an. You pass a shrine, a wooden idol draped with flowers, and toss a steppe apple as an offering, hoping the forest spirits are kinder than the mosquitoes. Better to please the gods than tempt a fever in this green maze. The trading post emerges, a cluster of bamboo huts and smoky fires by a river's edge. The air's thick with the sharp scent of cloves, ginga, and fish drying on racks. You stumble into the market, legs shaky from the trek, and set up under a palm canopy, stalls brim with nutmeg mace, its red lace glowing like embers, and cloves piled like dark jewels. A Javanese merchant, his turban bright with dye, eyes your horsehide, northern leather, he says, voice smooth as silk. You nod, ready to haggle, though your throat's dry from jungle heat. You unpack the hide, its musky scent cutting through the spice air. The merchant offers a sack of cloves and a clay jar of palm sugar. You scoff. This hide warmed a Khan's yurt, not your fishing net. The crowd laughs, and he ups the deal, adding a nutmeg pouch and a bamboo flask. You counter, demanding dried mango and a woven mat. After a fierce exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with hide and heavier with spices. You're not sure who won, but the mango's sweet, and that's a small victory. The market's a riot of colour and sound. Traders shout in Malay, Tamil, and Chinese, bartering over pepper, sandalwood, and pearls. You dodge a cart of squawking ducks that nearly trips you up. A woman roasting fish over coals hands you a leaf-wrapped morsel, its smoky tang spiked with chili. You pair it with mango, muttering, "Better than the steppes' tough mutton." A nearby trader grins, tossing you a coconut for the praise, and you crack it open, gulping its cool water. The spice route isn't just trade, it's a lifeline for kingdoms, fueling wealth and wars over tiny islands. Mainstream historical fact: by the 5th century CE, the Srivijaya Empire controlled key spice route ports like Palembang, with archaeological finds of Chinese ceramics and Indian beads proving its global reach. Odd detail: some traders used clove-soaked cloths as mosquito repellent, leaving them smelling like a spice stall but itchy-free. Historians still debate whether the spice route's wealth empowered local empires, or made them targets for Indian and Chinese dominance. You wander to a stall selling carved wood. Its figures dancing with mythical beasts. A girl offers you a talisman, claiming it wards off jungle spirits. You laugh. Spirits don't scare me, but snakes do. But buy a sandalwood bead instead. Charmed by her grin, she warns of bandits near the river. They strike at twilight. She says, echoing steppe raider tales. You nod, tucking the bead in your pack, hoping it's luckier than Leon's shell. By noon, the humidity's a blanket, and you rest under a banyan tree. You sip coconut water, its sweetness easing your thirst, and share a story with a Tamil trader about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a monsoon that drowned a spice caravan, their cloves floating like stars. The sea's greedy, he says. And you joke. Good thing I'm only greedy for bad deals, he laughs, offering a shared chili. But you decline, swapping a tagaza tail instead. He grins, and you feel the jungle's humid bond. Evening drapes the market in twilight, and oil lamps flicker to life. You eat rice porridge, its warmth laced with ginger, served with fish, so spicy your eyes water. A gamelan starts, its gongs ringing through the trees, and traders sway, their shadows dancing on the huts. You watch, too weary to join, but the rhythm lifts your spirit. A storyteller spins a tale of a naga guarding a clove grove, and you lean in, half believing under the starry canopy. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now cloves, nutmeg, and a bit of hide. The band plans to sail west tomorrow, towards India's ports. You lie on a bamboo mat in a creaky hut. The jungle's hum, broken by a monkey's shriek. You think of the silk, salt, and now spices you've carried, each trade weaving you into this ancient web. You close your eyes, the gamelan's echo fading, ready for the seas ahead. Part 11. Trans-Saharan gold traders. You're swaying atop a donkey, its stubborn hooves kicking up red dust as the Sahara's heat presses down like a forge. The spice route's humid jungles are a distant memory, replaced by the stark, bone-dry expanse of the Trans-Saharan trade route. Around the 9th century CE, your pack's heavy with cloves from Sumatra's markets. But here, you're after gold, the glittering dust that fuels empires. Remember that sandalwood bead you traded for in the jungle? It's strung around your neck now. A small talisman against the desert's relentless trials. The horizon shimmers with mirages, and you're wondering if raiders or thirst will claim you first. The caravan's a lifeline of 30 camels and donkeys, laden with kola nuts, cloth, and your precious spices. Their bells clink faintly, a thin thread of sound in the vast silence. You're with Hausa traders, their robes flowing like sand, eyes sharp beneath turbans. The lead driver, a wiry man with a staff etched with stars, scans the dunes for trouble. You clutch your water skin, its contents warm and sandy, and mutter, "Why didn't I stay in Sumatra's shade?" A trader nearby, his teeth flashing in a grin, chuckles. The Sahara spares no one, not even dreamers. You nod. But your parched throat isn't in the mood for wit. The trail's a faint scar across the sand, marked by sun-bleached stones and the occasional shard of broken pottery. You're headed to Orderghost, a trade hub where gold flows like water in kinder lands. The Trans-Saharan routes link West Africa's goldfields to North Africa's markets, trading wealth for salt and slaves. You pass a lone, tamarisk tree, its roots clawing at the earth, and toss a Sumatra mango as an offering, hoping the desert gods are less harsh than the sun. Better to appease them than risk a sandstorm's wrath. Orderghost rises from the haze, its mud brick walls baked to a golden crust. The air shifts, thick with the smell of roasted peanuts, leather, and camel dung. You dismount, legs stiff, and lead your donkey to a bustling market square. Stalls brim with gold dust in leather pouches, cola nuts stacked like coins, and dyed indigo cloth. A Songhai merchant, his turban heavy with beads. "Eyes your cloves, Eastern fire," he says, voice deep as a drum. You nod, ready to haggle, though your skin itches from the dust. You unpack the cloves, their sharp scent cutting through the desert air. The merchant offers a pouch of gold dust and a clay jug of millet beer. You scoff. These cloves spice a sultan's feast. Not your campfire stew, the crowd laughs. And he ups the deal, adding a brass bangle and a sack of dates. You counter, demanding a water skin and a camel hair rope. After a heated exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with cloves and heavier with golden gear. You're not sure who won, but the dates are chewy, and that's a small triumph. The market's a gritty whirl of life. Traders shout in Hausa, Arabic, and Berber, bartering over ivory, salt, and cowrie shells. You dodge a camel that nearly knocks you flat, its handler cursing loudly. A woman grilling yam slices over coals hands you one, its smoky sweetness easing your hunger. You pair it with a date, muttering, "Better than Sumatra's chili fire." A nearby trader grins, tossing you a peanut for the praise, and you pocket it with a nod. The trans-Saharan trade isn't just commerce, it's a bridge between worlds, linking sub-Saharan kingdoms to Islamic caliphates. Mainstream historical fact: by the 9th century CE, the Ghana Empire's gold trade, centered in cities like Orderghost, supplied much of the Islamic world's coinage, as documented by Arab geographer al-Bakri. Odd detail: some traders carried ostrich feathers as status symbols, tucking them into turbans to flaunt wealth, a fashion that puzzled northern buyers. Historians still debate whether the gold trade strengthened African empires or fueled their exploitation by Arab merchants. You wander to a stall selling leather goods. They're stitching tight as armor. A boy offers you a sandal strap, claiming it's blessed by a marabout. You laugh. Blessings won't fix my blisters, but buy a brass ring instead. Charmed by his grin, he warns of raiders near the next oasis. They strike at moonrise, he says, echoing Sumatra's bandit tales. You nod, slipping the ring on, hoping it's luckier than the step's comb. By noon, the heat's a furnace, and you seek shade under a mud wall. You sip millet beer, its sour tang quenching your thirst, and share a story with a Berber trader about Aden's dolphins. He tells of a caravan buried by a dune, their gold still glinting in the sand. The desert keeps its own, he says, and you joke. Good thing I only keep bad trades, he laughs, offering a shared peanut. But you decline, swapping a lion tail instead. He grins, and you feel the Sahara's dusty bond. Evening cloaks, the market in twilight, and fires glow like embers. You eat yam stew, its warmth spiked with peppers, served with bread, tough as hide. A griot starts a song, his voice rising with the chora's twang, and traders clap, their shadows dancing on the walls. You watch, too weary to join, but the melody lifts your spirit. He sings of a king who traded gold for wisdom, and you lean in, half believing under the starry sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now gold, brass, and a few cloves. The caravan plans to head north tomorrow, towards Morocco's markets. You lie on a reed mat in a cramped hut, the desert silence broken by a donkey's bray. You think of the silk, spices, and now gold you've carried, each trade weaving you into this ancient web. You close your eyes, the chora's echo fading, ready for the dunes ahead. Part Coxitoyster, Han Dynasty's silk emissaries, you're jostling in, a jolting ox cart, the wooden wheels creaking as you roll across a packed dirt road under a pale dawn sky. The Sahara's red dunes are a distant memory, replaced by the fertile plains of Han Dynasty China. Around 100 CE, your pack's heavy with gold dust from Order Ghost. But here, you're an envoy tasked with delivering silk to distant Parthia, a diplomatic gift to seal alliances. Remember that brass ring you traded for in the desert? It's still on your finger. A small charm against the bandits, rumored to stalk these roads. The air hums with the scent of rice paddies and dust. And you're wondering if you'll reach the next city before your cart falls apart. The caravan's a stately procession of 10 carts, escorted by Han soldiers in lacquered armor, their spears glinting like stars. Silk bales, wrapped in oiled cloth, are your cargo. Each roll a fortune in the west. You're traveling with court officials, their silk robes fluttering, and a Sogdian translator who mutters about the weather. You clutch your staff, eyes scanning the poplar-lined road for trouble, and mutter, "Why didn't I stay in Order Ghost's markets?" The translator, his beard streaked with grey, chuckles. The Silk Road tests patience, not just purses. You nod, but your rattling bones aren't feeling diplomatic. The road's a marvel, wide enough for 2 carts, flanked by irrigation ditches that feed emerald fields. You're headed to Dunhuang, a garrison town where your silk will be inspected before crossing into Parthia. The Silk Road, revitalized under the Han, links Chang'an to Central Asia, carrying diplomacy as much as trade. You pass a roadside shrine, a stone turtle bearing a stele, and toss a Sahara peanut as an offering, hoping the gods of the East are as forgiving as those in the desert. Better to honor them than risk a diplomat's disgrace. Dunhuang's walls loom ahead, a fortress of rammed earth under a hazy sky. The air shifts, thick with the smell of sesame oil, and soldier sweat. You enter the market, a bustling square of shouting vendors and lowing oxen. Stalls brim with silk scrolls, jade carvings, and dried apricots. A Parthian merchant, his cloak heavy with embroidery, eyes your gold dust. "Desert treasure," he says, voice smooth as honey. You nod, ready to barter. Though your back aches from the cart's jolts, you unpack the gold, its shimmer drawing gasps from the crowd. The merchant offers a bolt of Persian wool and a lacquered box. You scoff. This gold buys empires, not your camel's blanket. The crowd laughs, and he ups the deal, adding a jade pendant and a sack of raisins. You counter, demanding a silk scarf and a clay teapot. After a sharp exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with gold and heavier with Eastern goods. You're not sure who won, but the raisins are sweet, and that's a small victory. The market's a tapestry of Han wealth. Traders shout in Chinese, Sogdian, and Bactrian, bartering over porcelain, spices, and bronze mirrors. You dodge a cart of squealing pigs that nearly clips your shins. A cook frying dough twists over a fire hands you one, its crispy warmth spiked with scallions. You pair it with a raisin, muttering, "Better than Order Ghost's yam slop." A nearby vendor grins, tossing you a persimmon for the praise, and you pocket it with a nod. The Silk Road under the Han wasn't just trade, it was diplomacy. Binding empires through gifts and envoys. Mainstream historical fact. Emperor Wu of Han, in the 2nd century BCE, sent envoys like Zhang Qian to secure alliances, opening the Silk Road's western routes. As recorded in the records of the Grand Historian, odd detail, some envoys carried silk scrolls painted with maps, used as bribes or gifts, their ink fading in desert sands. Historians still debate whether Han diplomacy strengthened Central Asian ties or merely exposed China to nomadic invasions. You wander to a stall selling calligraphy brushes, their bamboo handles smooth as river stones. A boy offers you an inkstone, claiming it's blessed by Confucius. You laugh. Confucius didn't scribble my trades, but buy a paper charm instead. Charmed by his grin, he warns of bandits near the Jade Gate. They strike at dusk, he says, echoing Orderghost's raider tales. You nod, tucking the charm in your pack, hoping it's luckier than the Sahara's ring. By noon, the sun's gentle, and you rest under a willow tree. You sip tea from a borrowed cup, its bitterness easing your thirst, and share a story with a Han official about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of an envoy lost to a sandstorm, his silk scattered like snow. The road demands respect, he says. And you joke? Good thing I only disrespect my haggling, he laughs, offering a shared persimmon. But you decline, swapping a Leone, Tully instead. He grins, and you feel the Silk Road's ancient bond. Evening bathes the market in amber light, and lanterns glow to life. You eat rice porridge, its warmth laced with ginger, served with dough twists crisp as autumn leaves. A pipa player strums nearby, and traders clap, their shadows dancing on the walls. You watch, too weary to join, but the melody lifts your spirit. A poet recites a verse of a silk envoy's journey, and you lean in, half believing, under the starry sky. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now silk, yarder, and a bit of gold. The caravan plans to head west tomorrow, towards Parthia's borders. You lie on a reed mat in a stone hostel, the road's hum broken by an ox's bellow. You think of the spices, gold, and now silk you've carried, each trade weaving you into this diplomatic web. You close your eyes, the pippa's echo fading, ready for the trails ahead. Part 13, Viking Trade Routes Fjords. You're clinging to the side of a longship, the icy spray of the North Sea stinging your face as oars churn through choppy waves. The Silk Road's dusty trails are a distant memory, replaced by the rugged fjords of Scandinavia, where you're navigating Viking trade routes around the 9th century CE. Your pack's stuffed with jade from Dunhuang, but here, you're after furs and silver, goods that fuel the Norse markets. Remember that paper charm you traded for in the Han market? It's tucked in your cloak, a fragile shield against the storms and raiders of these northern waters. The fjord's cliffs loom like giants, and you're wondering if you'll freeze or drown first. The longship, its dragon prow slicing the waves, creaks with every stroke. You're with a crew of Viking traders, their beards crusted with salt, axes glinting at their belts. Their banter, a mix of Old Norse and broken Frankish, rises over the wind's howl. You grip the rail, knuckles white, and mutter, "Why didn't I stay in Dunhuang's warm markets?" A burly rower, his braids swinging, grins. The sea sorts the strong from the soft. You nod. But your chattering teeth aren't feeling bold. The route's no clear path, just a maze of fjords and islands charted by stars and memory. You're headed to Hedeby, a trade hub where your jade can fetch a high price. Viking routes stretch from Iceland to Byzantium, trading amber, slaves, and walrus ivory across stormy seas. You pass a rock carved with runes, a weathered marker of past voyages, and toss a Dunhuang raisin as an offering, hoping Odin's kinder than the waves. Better to please the gods than tempt a shipwreck. Hedeby's harbour emerges, a sprawl of wooden docks and smoky roofs nestled between hills. The air's sharp with the tang of tar, fish, and damp wool. You disembark, legs wobbly, and haul your pack to a bustling market square. Stalls brim with fox furs, silver, dirhams, and glass beads. A Danish merchant, his cloak pinned with a Thor's hammer. Eyes, your jade. Eastern stone, he says, voice gruff as gravel. You nod, ready to haggle, though your hands are numb from the cold. You unpack the jade, its green glow drawing murmurs from the crowd. The merchant offers a stack of furs and a horn cup. You scoff. This jade graces emperor's halls. Not your mead bench. The crowd laughs. And he ups the deal, adding a silver arm ring and a sack of dried cod. You counter, demanding a wool blanket and a flint striker. After a fierce exchange, to you settle, your pack now lighter with jade and heavier with Norse goods. You're not sure who won, but the cod's salty, and that's a small win. The market's a Viking whirlwind. Traders shout in Norse, Slavic, and Arabic, bartering over walrus tusks, iron swords, and soapstone pots. You dodge a cart of bleating sheep that nearly bowls you over. A woman roasting herring over coals hands you a skewer, its smoky warmth easing your hunger. You pair it with cod, muttering, better than Dunhuang's rice slop. A nearby trader grins, tossing you a crab apple for the praise, and you pocket it with a nod. Viking trade wasn't just commerce, it was a web of power, linking Norse chieftains to distant caliphs. Mainstream historical fact: Hedeby, by the 9th century CE, was a key Viking trade centre, with archaeological finds of Islamic coins and Baltic amber proving its global reach. As seen in Danish museum collections, odd detail: some Vikings used walrus skin ropes for ship rigging, their toughness outlasting hemp but smelling like a wet dog. Historians still debate whether Viking trade routes spread Christianity eastward or merely enriched pagan warlords. You wander to a stall selling iron tools, their edges sharp as winter. A boy offers you an axe head, claiming it's forged by dwarfs. You laugh. Dwarfs don't haggle my deals, but buy a bone needle instead. Charmed by his grin, he warns of raiders near the next fjord. They strike at dawn, he says, echoing Dunhuang's bandit tales. You nod, tucking the needle in your pack, hoping it's luckier than the Han charm. By noon, the wind's biting, and you huddle by a fire. You sip mead, its honeyed warmth thawing your throat, and share a story with a Norse trader about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a ship lost to a kraken, its timbers scattered like kindling. The sea's hungry, he says, and you joke. Good thing I'm only hungry for bad trades, he laughs, offering a shared apple. But you decline, swapping a Sahara tale instead. He grins, and you feel the fjord's salty bond. Evening cloaks the market in twilight, and torches flare to life. You eat barley stew, its warmth spiked with dill, served with bread, tough as sailcloth. Askel Startaseya, his voice rising with the harp's twang, and traders clap, their shadows dancing on the longhouses. You watch, too weary to join, but the rhythm lifts your spirit. He sings of a hero who sailed to Vinland, and you lean in, half believing, under the starry sky. Before sleep, You check your goods. Now, furs, silver, and a bit of jade. The crew plans to sail south tomorrow, towards Frankish markets. You lie on a straw pallet in a smoky longhouse. The sea's roar broken by a gull's cry. You think of the gold, spices, and now furs you've carried. Each trade weaving you into this northern web. You close your eyes. The harp's echo fading, ready for the waves ahead. Part 14. Pacific Canoe Voyages. You're clinging to the edge of a double-hulled canoe. The Pacific Ocean's warm spray, soaking your tunic as the wind sings through woven sails. The Viking fjord's icy waters are a distant memory, replaced by the vast, starlit expanse of Polynesian sea routes. Around 1000 CE. Your pack's light, holding just a silver arm ring from Hedeby. But here, you're seeking pearls and taro, treasures of the islands. Remember that bone needle you traded for in the Norse market? It's sewn into your belt, a tiny anchor against the endless waves that could swallow you whole. The horizon's a thin line, and you're wondering if you'll find land or drift forever. The canoe, its hull's carved from koa wood, glides over swells, guided by a Hawaiian navigator who reads the stars like a scroll. You're with a crew of Polynesian voyagers, their tattoos swirling like ocean currents, voices rising in rhythmic chants. You grip a paddle, arms burning from hours of rowing, and mutter, "Why didn't I stay in Hedeby's smoky halls?" A young rower, his hair tied with bark cloth, grins. "The sea's our home, not our cage." You nod, but your blistered hands aren't feeling at home. The route's no charted path, just a mental map of stars, swells, and bird flights. You're headed to Tahiti, a trade hub where your silver can fetch island goods. Polynesian voyages, spanning thousands of miles, linked Hawaii, New Zealand, and Easter Island in a web of navigation genius. You pass a flock of frigate birds, their red throats pulsing, and toss a Hedeby apple as an offering, hoping the sea gods approve. Better to honor them than tempt a rogue wave. Tahiti's green peaks rise ahead, a jewel in the blue expanse. The air shifts, sweet with hibiscus and salty with fish. You beach the canoe, legs shaky, and haul your pack to a coastal market. Stalls brim with pearl shells, taro roots, and feathered cloaks. A Tahitian trader, her neck laced with shells. Eyes, your arm ring. Northern metal, she says, voice soft as a wave. You nod, ready to barter, though your skin's tight from sun and salt. You unpack the silver, its gleam catching the sun. The trader offers a pearl necklace and a basket of breadfruit. You scoff. This ring graced a Jarl's arm. Not your fishing spear. The crowd laughs, and she ups the deal, adding a taro bundle and a carved paddle. You counter, demanding a coconut flask and a pandanus mat. After a lively exchange, you settle, your pack now lighter with silver and heavier with island goods. You're not sure who won, but the breadfruit's starchy, and that's a small triumph. The market's a vibrant pulse. Voyagers shout in Polynesian tongues, bartering over obsidian tools, dog hair belts, and shark-tooth knives. You dodge a piglet that nearly trips you, its owner laughing. A woman grilling fish over coconut husks hands you a leaf-wrapped morsel, its smoky tang spiked with lime. You pair it with taro, muttering, "Better than Hedeby's tough cod." A nearby trader grins, tossing you a guava for the praise, and you pocket it with a nod. Polynesian voyages weren't just travel, they were feats of science. Mapping the Pacific with sticks and shells. Mainstream historical fact by 1000 CE. Polynesians had settled most Pacific islands, using star charts and wave patterns, as evidenced by archaeological finds like Lapita pottery across Oceania. Odd detail. Some navigators tasted seawater to detect distant land, their tongues reading currents like maps. Historians still debate whether Polynesian voyages were driven by exploration or overpopulation, shaping the Pacific's cultural mosaic. You wander to a stall selling feathered headdresses, their colors dancing in the breeze. A boy offers you a shell amulet, claiming it calms storms. You laugh. Storms don't heed my trades, but buy a coral bead instead. Charmed by his grin, he warns of rival canoes near the next atoll. They raid at dusk. He says, echoing Hedeby's tales. You nod, tucking the bead in your pack, hoping it's luckier than the Norse needle. By noon, the sun's a torch, and you rest under a palm. You sip coconut water, its sweetness easing your thirst, and share a story with a Maori trader about Aiden's dolphins. He tells of a canoe lost to a whirlpool, its crew saved by sharks, the sea's kin. He says, and you joke, good thing I'm only kin to bad deals, he laughs, offering a shared guava. But you decline, swapping a Sahara tale instead. He grins, and you feel the ocean's vast bond. Evening drapes the market in twilight, and torches glow like stars. You eat taro mash, its warmth laced with fish, served with breadfruit soft as clouds. A hula starts, drums pulsing, and voyagers dance, their shadows swaying on the sand. You watch, too weary to join, but the rhythm lifts your soul. A chanter sings of a hero who sailed to the sky, and you lean in, half believing under the starry canopy. Before sleep, you check your goods. Now pearls, taro, and a bit of silver. The crew plans to sail south tomorrow, toward Raratonga's shores. You lie on a pandanus mat by the beach, the ocean's roar broken by a gull's cry. You think of the gold, furs, and now pearls you've carried, each trade weaving you into this seaborne web. You close your eyes, the drums echo fading, ready for the waves ahead. Part 15. Ancient Trails' Last Echoes. You're standing on a windswept cliff, the Pacific's turquoise waves crashing below as a golden sunset paints the sky. The Polynesian canoe routes are behind you now, but their rhythm lingers in your bones, mingling with memories of deserts, fjords, and jungles. It's an undefined time, a moment outside history, where you're reflecting on the ancient trails you've walked. From the Silk Road sands to Tahiti's shores, your pack's light, holding just a pearl from the Pacific and a scrap of silk from Chang'an. Tokens of a journey that's shaped you. Remember that coral bead you traded for in Tahiti? It's around your neck. A quiet reminder of the roads that bind humanity. The world feels vast, yet connected, and you're wondering which path's echo will call you next. The cliff overlooks a nameless shore, where sea meets land in a dance older than empires. You're alone, but the ghosts of your companions, Sogdian traders, Viking rowers, Polynesian navigators seem to whisper in the breeze. Your boots are worn thin, caked with the dust of a dozen lands, from Taklamakan's dunes to the Via Appia's stones. You sit on a weathered rock, the air sharp with salt and memory, and pull the pearl from your pack. It gleams softly, catching the dying light. A small world holding the ocean's secrets. You turn it in your fingers, thinking of the hands that traded it, the waves that carried it, the stories it's seen. These ancient trails weren't just paths, they were the veins of human history, pulsing with goods, ideas, and dreams. The Silk Road wove Buddhism into China's heart, The Via Appia carried Rome's iron will, and the Pacific routes mapped a sea with stars. Ah, step you took. From Kashgar's markets to Hedabe's docks, he was a thread in a tapestry that stretched across millennia. You recall the frankincense of Shabwa, its smoke curling like prayers, and the cloves of Sumatra, their scent of fire in the jungle's green. You smile, muttering, "I've smelled better than a camel's breath." But not by much. The wind seems to laugh, carrying your words away. You trace the silk scrap, its threads frayed but soft. A relic of Han envoys and desert deals. It's seen more of the world than most kings. From Dunhuang's gates to your cliffside perch, you think of the people you met, the Tuareg trader who shared his millet beer, the Tahitian who chanted of skybound heroes, the Yamnaya rider who swore by the steppes' ghosts. They're gone, but their voices linger. A chorus of resilience and wanderlust. You pull the coral bead from your neck, its surface smoothed by your touch, and hold it against the pearl. Together, they're a map of your journey, a constellation of moments under different skies. The trails you walked were more than trade or pilgrimage. They were acts of defiance against nature's barriers. The Sahara's heat, the Pacific's storms, the steppes' wolves each challenged you. Yet you moved on, driven by the same itch that sent nomads east and sailors south. Mainstream historical fact, ancient trade routes. From the Silk Road to Polynesian voyages, facilitated cultural diffusion, with archaeological evidence, like Roman coins in India and Polynesian fishhooks in Chile, proving global connections by 1000 CE. Odd detail, some traders carried pet parrots across routes, their squawks signaling wealth but annoying caravans. A quirk noted in medieval texts. Historians still debate whether these trails united humanity more than they sparked its conflicts. From wars over spices to crusades along pilgrim paths. You stand, stretching your aching legs, and gaze at the sea. The horizon's a mystery. Hiding islands, deserts, and cities yet to be walked. You think of the dangers you faced: bandits in Kashgar, raiders in Order Ghost, storms off Tahiti. Each left a mark, like the blisters from Leon or the sunburn from Tagaza. You chuckle. I've survived worse than a bad haggle, but not by much. The memory of a Norse skald saga, a griot's kora, a Han poet's verse weaves through you, a soundtrack of human striving. You're no hero, just a traveller, but you've carried silk, gold, and pearls across a world that's bigger than any map. The sun dips low, its rays gilding the waves. You slip the pearl and silk back into your pack, the coral bead around your neck. The trails you've walked are gone, buried under sand, sea, or time, but their echoes remain. You hear the camel bells of the Silk Road, the oars of Viking ships, the chants of Polynesian navigators. They're not just memories, they're the pulse of a world that keeps moving, trading, dreaming. You whisper, maybe I'll walk one more road. And the wind carries it like a promise. You turn from the cliff, the stars beginning to prick the sky. Your pack's ready, your boots worn but willing. The ancient trails taught you this: no path ends, only shifts, leading to new markets, new shores, new stories. You take a step, the gravel crunching softly, and feel the world's heartbeat underfoot. The night's calling, and you're ready to answer. The stars are bright now, their light soft against the velvet sky. You're walking slowly, your breath steady, the weight of your pack, a gentle reminder of all you've carried. The cliff fades behind you, its edge blurring into the night, and the sea's murmur grows faint, like a lullaby sung by time itself. The ancient trails you've walked, from silk-strewn deserts to star-guided seas, are woven into you, threads of gold, spice, and salt. They're not just paths, they're the story of us, of hands that traded, voices that sang, feet that wandered despite the dark. You pose, feeling the cool earth beneath you, and let the memories settle, the camel's bell, the pilgrim's hymn, the navigator's chant. They're all here, quiet but alive. You're not alone. The past walks with you. Its echo a comfort, a promise that no journey truly ends. The world's still out there, full of trails, waiting for your steps. But for now, rest. Let the night hold you. Let the stars watch over you. And let the ancient roads dream with you. Sleep deep. Traveler, the paths will be there when you wake.